So we have some new details on The Batman 2, including some potential info on when filming will take place, casting announcements being made very soon, a tease of Harvey Dent, and a rumour of Robert Pattinson's Batman being in the upcoming HBO Max spin-off series, The Penguin. We're still over 2 years away from The Batman Part 2, but based on recent info, it's clear that Matt Reeves and his team are working tirelessly to continue his Elseworlds universe, both on the big screen and the small screen too, so the new updates really give us a sense of how that work continues and what we might expect to hear in the next year or so. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the new updates from The Batman Part 2, giving my thoughts on it, and discussing whether it's true or not based on the sources we are hearing this info from. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding the Batman universe or other upcoming DC films, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into the new updates surrounding The Batman Part 2. So there's some interesting updates surrounding Matt Reeves The Batman Part 2, and it might be telling us when we could expect to see some announcements and looks at the new film in the build-up to its October 2025 release date. This includes a potential filming window, how that dictates when we might be getting casting announcements, a potential Harvey Dent tease, and some rumours of Robert Pattinson being in the Penguin series. Now, I will say that we have to take this news with a grain of salt, because it hasn't been broke by Deadline or The Hollywood Reporter, and instead it's coming from sources that at times have been hit or miss with the news they've broke. So keep that in mind while I discuss what's been posted. Starting with the filming details, this comes from Grace Randolph, who, if you know, in the past, she's been sharing scoops on future comic book movies, and at times she has been right, but then in other situations, she's been completely wrong. And even the new DC Studios head, James Gunn, has come out in the past and said that she's not reliable. Still, the filming details that she posted are ones that could be true, and to be honest, I do think that filming will commence between the end of this year and the first quarter of 2024, so her post lines up with that prediction quite nicely. This is because we know that Reeves spent a lot of time in production on the first film, and it's clear that with the quality of that first Batman film, that he'll want to spend time to make the sequel even better. Grace said that filming on The Batman Part 2 is due to commence this November, and that pre-production would be starting very soon. Now, we found out a few weeks ago that Matt Reeves and Mattson Tomlin had written a big chunk of the script, so with that coming to an end in the early stages of the summer, it makes sense that pre-production would be starting then, and then filming would begin in the final few months of 2023. I think this is likely the plan that they are following because, like I said before, Reeves will want as much time as possible when it comes to the filming stages, and then afterwards with post-production too. Just as a guess, I would expect it to take around 6 months for the filming, and then around a year for post-production, so the reports of them filming in November or around that time does seem very likely. If The Batman Part 2 does start filming in November, it means that we won't be waiting long for more announcements, both in the lead up to that filming and beyond. And in mentioning that, the filming date wasn't the only update that Grace Randolph shared, as she did also say that because of pre-production starting very soon too, it would mean that casting announcements would be made in the build-up to that filming process as well. If you remember with the first Batman film, Matt Reeves announced his castings on social media, and that included the confirmation of Robert Pattinson playing Batman, Dano playing the Riddler, Zoë Kravitz playing Catwoman, Catwoman and Colin Farrell playing the Penguin. So we could expect that the filmmaker would most likely announce the new characters and the people playing them in a similar way. If it is true that filming begins in November and post-production starts soon as well, then the reports of casting announcements happening too only makes sense when thinking about the short term ahead. When it comes to what characters we may see in these announcements, we can only guess at this point, and like I've spoken about in my theory videos, I think it's likely we'll at least get reveals on the villains that are involved in that sequel. You know that I'd love to see villains like Mr. Freeze, the Court of Owls, or even Hush, but for all we know, Reeves may come out and surprise us with whoever the villains or antagonists are. And whoever he does announce, it will likely be a big indication of what type of film we're going to be getting. We expect that he will continue the detective noir approach, especially because of the Batman Part 2 title, and like he also said before, he's going to continue to focus on the psychology of Bruce Wayne at the very forefront. But in saying that, the revealed villain or villains might give us an idea of what subgenre the film will be connecting with. If you remember with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight sequels, we saw how villains dictated the subgenre of film that Nolan focused on. We had a psychological crime thriller with the Joker as the main villain in The Dark Knight, and then with The Dark Knight Rises, an epic war movie in Gotham with Bane giving Batman a full-on physical test. So it definitely is intriguing to think about how the villain may affect the approach in a sequel, even if we do keep a detective-driven structure and a focus on Bruce Wayne's psychology. It's not just the villains to think about though, because Reeves is aiming to expand his Batman world in a big way, and that includes other characters that we might see too. I doubt we'd see the Bat family, especially because that's going to be a focus in the DCU with the Brave and the Bold film, but I guess you can't completely rule them out because Reeves might want to adapt characters like this in his own way and make them fit into the type of world he's built around Pattinson's character. But yes, regardless of who is cast, my guess would be that it would all be centrally linked into the main story and the type of film Reeves is giving us. While we don't currently know much about new castings, there was an interesting poster that came out recently, and it got people talking about the inclusion of a big Batman character. The source was Batman on Film, and they tweeted out a picture of Harvey Dent amongst all the updates that we'd been hearing for the Penguin show, suggesting that Dent might be weaved into the plotline of that spin-off series. If he is introduced in that series, you'd also expect a character like him to be present in a Batman sequel too. And while on one side we'd argue that it might be better to explore a different character in the sequel because we've already had that with Two-Face in The Dark Knight, I think he is a great character to adapt in new ways. But who knows, he may not be a part of the Batman 2, and instead this might just be linked to the Penguin series to prevent the comparisons to past Batman sequels. Having him in the Penguin actually makes a lot of sense given the likely focus on corruption in Gotham or a mobster versus a politician angle. And again, they could build out Harvey Dent over numerous projects rather than just have him be a one film and done villain. I do want to stress that this tweet could just be Batman on Film expressing an interest in seeing this character done, but it did seem quite weird that they posted this so close to news on castings being made very soon. As a fan, I think it makes sense that you introduce Harvey Dent sooner rather than later and really set up his arc for the films and projects to come. And like I said, he could really fit in well with the world that Reeves is building. Overall, we'll just have to see what castings are made in the road to the Batman Part 2, and if the rumours are true, it looks like we'll be hearing of those quite soon. Coming to the final things to discuss, this involves the recent rumours of Robert Pattinson being in the Penguin series on HBO Max. During a recent episode of The Hot Mic, film critic Jeff Snyder expressed having heard that Pattinson's Batman will be in the Penguin series. He said, "Word is that Pattinson is going to appear in the Penguin." This would make Pattinson's Dark Knight the only cinematic take on Batman to be featured in both a theatrical release and a streaming series. We know that the Penguin series has just begun filming, with Reeves producing, and that Colin Farrell has recently talked about it, saying that it has a great script with an exploration of Oz that leads us into The Batman Part 2. While it does make sense that Batman would show up in The Penguin, given the time frame for the show, it's again another case where we should take this news with a grain of salt. Like Grace Randolph, Jeff Snyder has a mixed track record when it comes to scoops, and we haven't heard this news from any of the other sources too. But again, he has been right about a few things in the past, and when you add his information to the idea that this show is set between the Batman 1 and 2, then it does make sense that Pattinson would show up in some shape or form. Alongside this, there was also some other news for the Penguin series, and that involved new casting additions for the show. Variety recently reported that Michael Kelly, Shohreh Aghdashloo, and Deirdre O'Connell have been added to the HBO Max series in mystery roles. Kelly is known for starring in House of Cards, Jack Ryan, and he also had a role in Man of Steel. Aghdashloo has been in The Expanse, and O'Connell is known for her roles in Daredevil and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. There was also confirmation that Kristen Milioti and Renzi Feliz are among the show's other recent casting additions too, and it's recently been learnt that filming will start in New York City later this month, so we could expect to see some behind the scenes photos around that time too. With the series leading directly into The Batman Part 2, it's going to be an important part of Matt Reeves' Batman world, and the news of Robert Pattinson potentially being a part of that as well makes us really excited to see what's in store. But that was my brief video discussing the new updates on The Batman Part 2. Overall, if all of this news is true, then it seems like it won't be too long before we start to get some more info on Matt Reeves' sequel, and I will of course be discussing all of it on the channel. You know that I couldn't be more excited for the future of Reeves' Batman universe, and alongside the Joker sequel, the DC Elseworlds projects are those that I'm most excited for going forwards. They present real opportunity, not just through the potential castings, separated character approaches, or cameos that people want to see, but through the unique approaches to filmmaking outside of a core DCU, which typically brings some limitations. It's the more unique stuff that gives the comic book genre new ways at tackling storylines and characters that we just aren't used to seeing all that much with conventional universe fare. Again though, there's nothing wrong with the other format if the film and storytelling is good, but right from the outset, the structure of an Elseworlds movie allows for a more distinct take in ways that the traditional comic book project is usually restricted by. So it will be interesting to see how Reeves continues his storytelling and what types of projects we get from his expanding worlds. But let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are towards all of the latest The Batman Part 2 news, and whether you think Robert Pattinson will be in that Penguin spin-off series. For much more videos and news on the Batman and DC, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.